And welcome back to SP Channel, guys. Tonight we're going to recap on CERN and some of the possible dangers that CERN is presenting toward mankind. Many people responded to my previous CERN video about how science is our friend and CERN is safe, and they brought my attention to some theories and some ideologies that I hadn't previously read. It turns out there's quite a bit more about CERN to consider. There are some things about CERN that I would like to go more in depth about CERN with you. I have my friend Tate Plays. He's an all-around CERN expert. He usually deals with these subjects on CERN. I brought him on the show. How's it going, Brother Tate?
Pretty good. Glad to be here, bro.
It seems after some late night reading that there's quite a bit more to CERN than what I had previously comprehended. It seems that even Professor Stephen Hawking is quite concerned about CERN and what they're doing. When one of the most brilliant minds on planet Earth expresses concern about a group of people and what they're doing, it tends to raise a red flag. Brother Tate, what do you know about CERN and some of the possible dangers that they are presenting toward mankind?
What Sir Stephen Hawking was having trouble with, was thinking about, is when CERN found the Higgs boson, the God particle, that they would try to weaponize this. And if you remember back when Oppenheimer invented the atomic bomb, he was afraid that the fission and fusion between the atomic bomb being used could create a chain reaction which would destroy everything within the magnetosphere of Earth. Well, Stephen Hawking has the same fear that they're going to try to use the God particle, which can infinitely generate mass, as a weapon. If they did this, it could be a chain reaction that destroys the universe. Now, the second theory, because Stephen Hawking does subscribe to a holographic universal theory, is that think of the world as data on a hard drive. Your hard drive gets so full, and then what do you have to do? You have to erase or overwrite data. If the Higgs boson was created and activated to where it created more mass and more mass and more mass, then it would eventually overwrite the data that is on the hard drive, i.e. us.
So it would, in essence, destroy all current physical matter, overriding it with whatever corrupted data that it saw fit.
Yep.
The skies over CERN, there's been some alarming things happening in the skies over CERN. For the last couple of years, really, people just wave this information away as if it's just speculation, but I found some really interesting video footage. While CERN was activated, there was a circular ring in the sky. What a lot of people don't understand about CERN, when they do turn on the Large Hadron Collider, it produces a gravitational pull that is 100,000 times greater than Earth's. And I think this video that I will probably be overlapping will kind of illustrate how CERN does affect the environment around, or at least immediately around, its facility. CERN's project, was it
Awake?
Yes, it was Project Awake. Project Awake is the plasma injection experiment. What the plasma injection experiment does is it uses the plasma and also magnets, because of course, as you know, any atomic mass has those electrons, and those electrons will of course be affected by a magnetic field. The Awake project basically helps them accelerate mass well beyond the speed of light within the particle accelerator itself. Is there anything that you can tell us about the Mandela effect and how that ties into what CERN is doing?
I have many theories on that, but one that I will put out is one that even Sir Hawking Stevens believes in, the overwriting of our holographic universe.
Now, I will, of course, entertain anything Stephen Hawking has to say. I don't necessarily subscribe to holographic universe theory, but I haven't written it out completely either. There are some amazing exploits to relativity itself. For instance, when you do manage to break the speed of light with a particle of mass by using the Awake field experiment, which polarizes all of the atomic material and allows it to be exceptionally stable, something amazing happens. You can actually affect space-time tangibly. So there are several things. For instance, we have when you supercool a magnet and you get it to temperatures that near absolute zero, the magnet will levitate on a metal track. The nature of the matter itself changes when it reaches temperatures near absolute zero. So these things are not covered in the standard definitions or even the special definitions of relativity. And we're just now beginning to understand some of these exceptions to relativity, I would suppose.
I would say they're unknowns.
which would, of course, make them paranormal, right?
In most and every definition, yes, anything unknown by nature itself is paranormal or supernatural.
Well, anything unknown by science that science can explain, of course, fits the definition of paranormal. So we really have to discuss what CERN is doing when they accelerate these particles of mass beyond the speed of light, when they do affect space-time. Do you feel that when our universe connects with whatever is on the other side, that this interaction is what has caused the Mandela effect or some of the seeming changes from the Mandela effect itself?
It could very well be, because if you think about it, negative and positive, when they come together, they override each other. So if you build a gap between the two verses,
that's a very interesting point. When the positive and the negative come together, they cancel each other out.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that it's kind of like Swiss cheese, like a corruption is bleeding into our universe that is causing corruptions and glitches in our very own reality?
It very well could be. I would equate it like fouling out the sectors on a hard drive where that information has been changed.
Well, I think we can both agree, just from what we've studied up on time, how time is perceived and how linear time passes. The old saying about timelines, that's true. Time is linear and does seem to progress naturally. So if you interrupted the flow of time, there would be glitches and problems. I guess you would call them software glitches.
There's something very interesting about photons that follow the linear path of entropy that you're talking about. They believe that photons can go backwards through time and forwards through time at the same speed and distance. Now, if you were to affect the photons that were going backwards in time, you would effectively change the information on that photon in the past.
It would seem to me that with Einstein's theory of general relativity, that, light and inertia really does have something to do with the passage and flow of time. I have heard something about science has been able to nearly stop photons in their tracks.
Mm-hmm. See, the theory is the photons that, say you see the atomic mass of that cup as matter, that matter gives off photons, which allows you to see it. Now, the photons on that matter extend backwards through time itself and forwards through time itself. Now, if you were to change the photons that were going backwards in time, you could change the matter of that cup in that time, at that point in time in the past.
One of the former people that headed the project for CERN, he's no longer on the team. I believe his name was Sergio Bertolucci. He was a former director of research and scientific computing of the facility for CERN. He grabbed headlines when he told a British tabloid that the super collider could open otherworldly doors to another dimension. And I believe this was in 2013. The primary scientific goal of the anti-hydrogen experiment, gravitational interspectroscopy. AGIS is the direct measurement of the Earth's gravitational acceleration on antihydrogen. AGIS is a collaboration of physicists from all over Europe. In the first phase of the experiment, the AGIS team is using antiprotons from the antiproton decelerator to make a beam of antihydrogen atoms. They then pass the antihydrogen beam through an instrument called the Moray deflectometer, coupled with a position-sensitive detector to measure the strength of the gravitational interaction between matter and antimatter to a precision of 1%.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like CERN has their hands in on just about every facet of particle physics you can imagine.
Every one of them, bro. They're even playing with exotic materials like it's nothing.
I would like to name off just a list of a few of the experiments and facilities that CERN has under their belt. Lots of people don't really grasp just how big CERN is and what CERN is doing. Here is a list of some of the known experiments that CERN does. They have the AGIS experiment, the ALICE experiment, the ALPHA experiment, the AMS, the ACOSCA, the ATLAS, the ATRAP, the AWAKE experiment, the BASE experiment, the CAST experiment, the CLOUD experiment, the CMS experiment, and the COMPASS experiment. All of these experiments, along with others, these are past experiments now. These are experiments that have already taken place at facilities that are no longer used. The ACE experiment, the Alpha experiment, the Delphi experiment, and the Gargamel experiment. I'd like to tell you guys a little more about the Gargamel experiment. Gargamel was a bubble chamber at CERN designed to detect neutrinos. It operated from 1970 till 1976 with a muon neutrino beam produced by CERN photon synchrotron before moving to the super proton synchrotron SPS until 1979. Gargamel was 4.8 meters long and 2 meters in diameter. It weighed about 1,000 tons and held nearly 12 cubic meters of heavy liquid freon. Let's discuss some of the things about the Mandela effect particularly. The Mandela effect is a situation where a number of people have memories that are different from the available evidence. The term was coined by a paranormal enthusiast named Flora Broom, who says she and other people remember Nelson Mandela dying in the 1980s rather than in 2013. She argues that common memories which appear mistaken could be explained by the existence of a parallel universe that we're able to interact with. If CERN is opening up to another reality, to a parallel universe, the bleed through from this parallel would of course affect us, like the corrupted information on a sector in a hard drive.
We all know it's been stated by the news, it's been stated by CERN, it's been stated by conspiracy theorists. It's pretty much fact at this point that CERN is trying to, or has developed the ability to create miniature black holes, and the reason they're doing this is to study Hawking's
radiation. Yes.
I think that the reason that they're trying to study the Hawking's radiation is because of the theory of white holes.
Now, when it comes to Hawking's radiation, I know that Hawking's radiation is theorized to be the only thing that can possibly escape the intense gravitational pull of a singularity.
I'm the same way. That's about all I know of it. Now, I think the reason that they're trying to study it is because there's a theory of white holes, which states that if we have black holes in our universe, then on the other side there must be a white hole which excretes mass infinitely.
I've read up on white holes. It's believed in parallel universe theory that every black hole, from the tiniest microscopic black hole to supermassive black holes at the center of galaxies, many people believe that black holes could possibly lead to somewhere else. The speculative theory is our universe, being what it is connected to its parallel, which of course I believe would be the antimatter or the anti-universe
of Shadow Valley.
Right. So on the outside looking in, you've got our black holes, which are like these ginormous vacuums. They suck in everything and nothing can escape. But in the parallel universe, in the antimatter universe, you have white holes, which these white holes do nothing but accelerate this mass from them. Even though the gravitational pull would kill any living thing that approached a black hole, you're going to be spit out on the other side. A white hole is connected to every black hole in existence. That what a black hole actually is, it is so much energy and force have come together at a very small point in space-time that it has actually opened up a portal to the other side.
There are Lorentzian wormholes or Schwarzschild wormhole or Eisen-Rosen bridges.
What do you speculate about Shadow Valley, Brother Tate? Do you imagine in Shadow Valley that there is a parallel to the Earth, a parallel to me and you, a parallel to everything that we know and do?
Oh yes, definitely. If you think about it, do you know the ancient Chinese philosophy of yin and yang?
Of course.
Positive and negative. For every positive, there must be a negative.
In science, that's more than just a philosophy. Every positive must have a negative.
Okay, so if we are a positively charged universe, then there must be a negatively charged universe also.
That makes all kinds of sense, Brother Tate.
Now, I believe the only thing that separates the positive from the negative universe is neutrinos. A neutrino is a fermion with a half integer spin that interacts only via the Weak's subatomic force and gravity. The mass of the neutrino is much smaller than that of other known elementary particles. neutrinos. The neutrino is so named because it is electrically neutral. It is not affected by electromagnetic force, and because its rest mass is so small, negative INO, it was originally thought to be zero. The weak force is very short-range interaction. Gravity is extremely weak on the subatomic scale, and neutrinos as leptons do not participate in the strong reaction. Thus, neutrinos typically pass through normal matter unimpeded and undetected.
Wow. So neutrinos are almost in a way like a ghost particle.
Yeah, man. But the neutrino can take on three traits also. It can become an electron neutrino, a muon neutrino, or a tau neutrino. Respectively, each neutrino has a corresponding antiparticle called an antineutrino, which also has no electric charge and a half-integer spin. Neutrinos are produced such that there is no overall change in the lepton number. That is, electron neutrinos are produced together with positrinos. Anti-electrons and electron antineutrinos are produced with electrons.
Let's discuss some more about CERN particularly and the Mandela effect. Lots of people seem to express concerns about some of the physical changes specifically that have occurred. Why do you believe this is, Brother Tate? People are remembering that, wait a second, my heart used to be located on the left side of my chest. What's it doing in the center of my chest? My liver didn't used to be that high up into my body. It was a lower thing. What has happened? Why have some of these physical changes transpired, Brother Tate?
Here's an interesting theory for you. Say that you're from a positive universe. All of a sudden, your consciousness got switched into Shadow Valley or the negative universe. How would you ever know that you got switched from the positive universe to the negative universe?
I don't think we would know, because if you really give it some thought, from the other side, that other universe, when they discovered their particle physics and when they started giving their particles their names and, assign their values to those particles, their negative and positive may be exactly the same as ours. So I don't know if we would really know.
Well, there is your answer, brother.
You really have to take into consideration, Tate. People are claiming that the human body suddenly has more bones, a heavier skeletal structure, organs have been moved around, the size of certain parts of the brain has changed.
There would be humanoids in each of the universes, but one universe would be different in its timeline and its adaptations to its areas and regions for the human species. Now, that difference could make up for the anatomical differences that we have been seeing. Basically, maybe this Earth has more gravity than the other Earths in the Negaverse. So in this Earth, you would need stronger bones, extra bones, etc., etc., etc.
From a lot of the memories that I have, it seems like human beings used to be quite a bit more logical and a great deal less emotional. If you look around the world today, you will see that people are far more emotional than they used to be. More quickly do they enrage, more quickly do they go to wrath and violence, more easily are they willing to attack another person than in days gone by. If the Mandela effect is responsible for switching us from one reality to a complete other reality, that this other reality has some true physical differences, people seem to be more emotionally driven in this reality than previously.
This goes back to the discrepancies of adaptation to the area that you're in. Now, let's say this human species did not do much social interacting with their biological counterparts. They would not need social skills or logical skills to tell them that they need to make friends with the larger guy so that the larger guy can protect them and get things higher up off of trees for fruits, etc., etc.,
Do you have any closing comments for the channel, Brother Tate?
Yeah, guys, it was nice seeing you. Come by and check me out at Tate Plays. Have a nice night.
He really does discuss the Mandela effect in a lot more detail than I do. I tend to do a variety of subjects, and I've just recently started doing some of the Mandela posts. Tate has quite a few really awesome Mandela videos. You guys should check his site out. There's a link to his channel in the description. Guys, we do this for you. We want to inform you. Remember, if you like these kinds of videos, make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. This has been SP and Brother Tate Plays. Make sure to join us next time on SP channel, guys. Thanks.